Hey everyone, welcome to this live from the Microsoft campus. I am at the MVP Summit in Redmond, Washington, and it is a beautiful day as you can see. You can see there's some lights behind me and some tents set up for the 50th anniversary of Microsoft. And you can see I'm wearing my Clippy as well as my MVP badge. I went to the party with Palermo Monday evening, and it is Tuesday, the first official day of the Microsoft MVP Summit. And so, where am I today? Well, I'm right outside the Thermal Energy Center at Microsoft. Let's take a look here at what we've got on campus. And this is going to be part one of things you can't do if you don't do them at the MVP Summit or while you are in Redmond, Washington. First thing you can't do is you can't walk around campus and check out the Microsoft Thermal Center, because if you're not here in person, it's kind of hard to find these types of opportunities online, because they are in-person opportunities. If you don't do this while you're here, it's kind of hard to do it when you get home. So we have one person watching live. Thank you for joining us. If you have questions, feel free to use the LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter options for questions. And the other thing that you can't do in person that I'm aware of is go live from campus, unless you have a friend or somebody that can bring you in to a live. We've got Daniel from YouTube. Looks like we've got somebody that might be coming to campus. And we've already got our second, third, and fourth inappropriate comments. Thank you, everyone, for actually engaging on my YouTube channel. That doesn't happen too often. I would rather have negative engagement than no engagement. So here is the Microsoft pickleball courts. I've finally found the pickleball courts. And wow, the inappropriate comments continue. Thanks so much for all of you maybe boosting my YouTube channel. At this point, I will go with negative comments. It seems to be working for the United States. And wow, this is great. Yeah, thanks, Clayton. Yeah, folks are certainly being wow. Yeah, this is fun. So if you haven't played pickleball, it was invented not too far from the Microsoft campus on an island out here called Brainbridge Island. And I've been addicted for about 5 years. These are pickleballs. These are probably the worst pickleballs I have ever played with, everyone. And they are from Tommy Bahama. They come in a package of 12. And like I said, they are probably the worst pickleballs I have ever played with. We're going to walk over to where I left my pickleball gear. My dad used to tell us that we needed to have swimming gear when I was growing up with my brother. And one of his friends from college said, is it really a gear? Like a gear that the kids need to swim? I thought all you needed to swim was a swimsuit. And my dad was probably referring to our goggles, which I still wouldn't consider gear necessarily, but it was certainly more than what we needed to wear to go swimming. And so let me pick up my pickleball paddle, which this is a Gearbox paddle. I'm not sponsored by Gearbox. However, if Gearbox or Selkirk or any of the other brand names for paddles want to sponsor me, I would be more than happy to talk about and extol the benefits of their paddles versus somebody else's. But Gearbox is one of the first paddles I played with from a college friend's dad. Pickleball is one of the only sports I am aware of that is something you can play at any age, and you can get injured at any age. The pickleball court is smaller than a tennis court. There's an area called the kitchen. These kitchens are green. They're painted green. And the deal with the kitchen is it's 7 feet on either side of the net, which is about 2 inches shorter than a tennis court net. And the deal with the kitchen is the ball has to bounce within the kitchen before you hit it. The pickleballs, which look like wiffle balls, so if you're familiar with baseball and then wiffle ball for youngsters, these are essentially wiffle balls with different size holes. They're plastic balls, so unlike tennis balls, you don't have to worry about them getting flat. And you bounce a pickleball to serve. So you serve similar to tennis cross court, and the ball has to go past the kitchen on the serve. So unlike tennis, where you have to serve towards the first box, in pickleball, you actually have to serve towards the back box. Cross court, underhand serves, and that's how you begin a point in pickleball. You score differently in pickleball. There are different rules when you're playing doubles in pickleball. The court isn't bigger like in tennis. There is no alley or additional width added to a doubles game in pickleball. And the dimensions of the court are different than in tennis. So these are dedicated pickleball courts, 2 of them, out on Microsoft's Redmond campus. And these are the athletic fields. So we also have basketball shared with 2 pickleball courts. And then we have the thermal energy center right behind these. And then lots of construction happening for Microsoft Alumni Network's 30th and Microsoft's 50th anniversary. Microsoft was incorporated in April of 1975. So thanks, folks, for making more appropriate comments than were made earlier. It looks like I've got several of you live. And if you have questions, feel free to put questions in that aren't offensive. Let's just put it that way. I will answer questions that are not offensive if anybody has them. And so the thing with pickleball is that you serve cross court. You have to drop the ball to serve. And these are, I call them the worst pickleball balls that I've ever played with. And the main reason for that is that they don't bounce the way every other pickleball I have played with bounces. You have to hit them a lot harder, and even to get them across court and within the box that I need to serve in, I've had to hit these harder than any other pickleball I have used. So I've used balls from Onyx. I've used pickleballs from Franklin. I've used pickleballs from Diadem in Florida. I purchased some bright pink pickleballs, and that is no problem. Happy to share some facts about pickleball and or the MVP, the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional program. So the way you serve in pickleball is a drop serve. So you have to drop the ball and then hit it across court. So that was an out serve because I didn't hit appropriately cross court. So let's try again here. And that was a wide serve because I didn't hit it into the very narrow box that is the pickleball area. There we go. That just made it in. So if you've ever served in pickleball, you can probably relate to what I'm doing here. And that is serving cross court, past the kitchen, into the box that is adjacent or diagonal from where you are. So you use a pickleball paddle. You have to serve underhand, below your waist, and then cross court. And so the Microsoft MVP Summit is happening today, Wednesday and Thursday, here on the Redmond campus. And the places that it was happening were far enough away from the pickleball courts that I had to call in some favors, if you will, on saying, hey, where are the pickleball courts? And several Microsoft employees pointed me in the right direction to get me over to the pickleball courts. And I just wanted to check them out. And I figured it was an appropriate topic to go live about. Most of the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional Summit, MVP Summit, is under NDA, non-disclosure agreement, meaning I can't talk about it. So we have a question in the comments about, do you work at Microsoft? I do not. I don't work for LinkedIn either. However, I put the LinkedIn logo on my backpack, and I also have the LinkedIn logo carved or designed into the back of my hair. What's left of my hair in the back has the LinkedIn logo. There's about 1,500 MVPs here in Redmond this week, and with 1,500 people, pretty much guaranteed I'm not going to meet 1,500 people in 3 days. However, what I can do is maybe be recognized by a large number of those people that are here in person. I'm 6'4". Another thing that you can't tell from social media is the height of somebody, especially from their profile picture. So when I see and meet people in person, sometimes I'm surprised about how tall they are or how short they are, depending on what they look like in person. So I'm going to see if I can get rid of the comment here. It doesn't look like it's a comment. It's probably some kind of overlay that I have. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate anybody subscribing. And we've got at least one person from Florida. So thank you. It's warm today. It's probably 70 degrees in Seattle. This is, I would say, maybe unseasonably warm, and it is unseasonably clear. We have a lot of green out. We have a lot of sun out today, and we have kind of the majority of the sky is blue right now. So you can see that I am enjoying the outdoors. Another thing that you can't do if you're inside in Seattle in late March. So I also indicated that I would stay live until I hit about 7% on my phone, because I'm using my phone to navigate around campus. I have been on campus several times. The question about, do I work at Microsoft? I'm doing great, Joel. And let's see if I can find that comment again. I think it was from Black. No, it was from Star Ryan J's third kid. And the question was, do you work at Microsoft? And the answer I gave was, no, I do not work at Microsoft, but I used to work at Microsoft. I worked at Microsoft twice in my career. So the first time I started on Halloween, I started on October 31st, 2005. So 20 years ago, I started a journey at Microsoft that lasted 11 years. I left in 2016, November of 2016, and I went back to being a Microsoft certified trainer, MCT. I've been a MCT now for 25 years. This is my 25th anniversary, so I started that journey in 2000. In 2005, on Halloween, I joined Microsoft, and I asked at the time if people thought I should dress up like a penguin. If people recall, 20 years ago, Microsoft did not have a good relationship from leadership or from a company perspective with Linux. Windows XP was the current version of Windows at the time, and Microsoft felt threatened by Linux. Since Satya Nadella took over the company as CEO, he decided, you know what? Linux isn't a threat, because Linux as an operating system still needs to run on hardware, either virtual hardware or physical hardware. And that physical hardware could be hosted in Azure. Microsoft's cloud technology is referred to now as Microsoft Azure. It used to be called Windows Azure when it was originally released, and Windows Azure could obviously virtualize Windows Server, but it could just as easily virtualize Linux and other flavors or versions, if you will, of Linux as an operating system. So one thing that I always believed, and still do to this day, is that Microsoft wins when they focus on services, software, and not necessarily on just Windows. Whether it's Windows clients, Windows 11 is out now, or Windows from a server perspective at the time, Windows on the phone or on tablets or other types of devices. Obviously, Apple and Google's Android, Apple's iOS and Google's Android have become the choices that most people choose from a standpoint of mobile devices. I am on an iPhone right now. I also brought two Android version or flavors, if you will, of Android with me to Redmond. So when this phone hits 7%, I believe I have both my Pixel phone that has cellular service, and I have my Surface Pro, which also has cellular service. So I don't lose my ability to communicate with the internet. I just lose my ability maybe to maintain being live on Restream in several minutes. I'm at 11% on my iOS device. I have my Surface with me, which was about 50% charged based on a event that I did this morning. And I actually went over to the LinkedIn office with about 10 to 12 MVPs, Microsoft Most Valuable Professionals, that had not been in the office before. So I had an opportunity to do that. So no, I do not work at Microsoft. I went back in 2019 for a total of about 18 months. I became a Surface specialist, And in that role, I got a lot of demo hardware for Microsoft Surface. I worked with healthcare customers. And as many of you, I'm sure, are aware, in March of 2020, we had a worldwide pandemic that put healthcare in, let's say, a different position than they were in 2019 when I started with Microsoft as a Surface technical specialist. They turned me into a pseudo salesperson in 2020, or actually in 2019, in July. Our mandate, or our differences of salespeople and technical specialists, was combined into one role called Surface Specialist. So if you were a technical person, you became a salesperson. If you were a salesperson, you became a combined salesperson with having to answer the technical questions. And several people decided to leave that role. I decided to give it a college try, or a attempt at being a salesperson, and found out pretty quickly that I don't like selling. I will cheerlead all day. I will talk about pickleball. I will talk about paddles that I've used. I will do reviews. I will cheerlead all day for people that I know, people that I've met, people in the technical community, but I do not want to be required to sell something. I will sell my book, LinkedIn 365, but at the end of the day, I don't get asked how many copies I sold of my book or how well the revenue is doing. So my future and my livelihood is not tied to selling my book, LinkedIn 365, about posting every day on LinkedIn, but it is obviously for sale and is available in a digital version. And I have just released a physical version, of which I brought some copies to the MVP Summit, the most valuable professional summit in Redmond, Washington. So the things that I can't do in person, I'm at 8% battery life, so I've got a couple minutes left, maybe one or two. And in that 1 or 2 minutes, I can finish up our introduction here of the Redmond campus. What I'll be doing, I just hit 7%, so I'm going to wrap up. What I will be doing is walking across campus, I believe that direction or this direction. And all I have to do is avoid the all sorts of construction that's happening on this side of campus. So I may have to walk around it as opposed to through it. And that gets me back to where I parked my vehicle and where the MVP Summit, many of the MVP Summit events are happening this week, is on the other side of campus. So thanks for joining me, everyone. I really appreciate it. And if you have questions, you can reach me on LinkedIn, Stilldrey, Stilldrey. That is one of my 2 YouTube channels. I have Stilldrey as a YouTube channel, and I have DREY MSFT. And if you're not aware of what MSFT is, it is the stock symbol for Microsoft, which is doing quite well. And if you have questions about Microsoft, if you have questions about the MVP program, the Microsoft Certified Trainer credential and certification, or Microsoft certifications, the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador Program, I am happy, more than happy, to connect you with people, answer questions, and feel free to put those on YouTube, feel free to put those on Twitter, feel free to put those on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook. Anywhere that I had Stilldrey available, I used it. On Instagram, I'm Stilldrey1, I believe, because Stilldrey was used by somebody in Italy, I believe. And on Instagram, I'm also, I believe, DREYMSFT. And I may have added MVP to those because when Threads was released from Meta, it did not support search of words. So I used MVP so that people could find me maybe easier on Threads. I don't use Threads as often as I thought I would. I'm still on Twitter and or X, and I'm also on LinkedIn quite a bit. I use Facebook, but not as often. And I may in 2025 try to grow my YouTube channels now that several people are assisting me with comments. And Stephen, hey, a real person that I have met in real life. Thanks for commenting, Stephen. It's good to see you here. Stephen is a gentleman that I met at our church in DeKalb, Illinois, and he does voiceover work really, really well. He's also been on the radio. He did a LinkedIn audio event with my nephew a couple years back, probably at least a year ago, maybe a little longer. LinkedIn has decided to do away with audio events, so there's still Clubhouse, which is an audio platform and an application. There may still be spaces, I believe, on Twitter. So Twitter still supports both live events like this and audio events, but Twitter is now X. So if you're familiar with X.com or Twitter before that, both of those websites, I believe, still respond, and I am STILLDREY on both of those platforms. Well, we've been going for about 27 minutes at this point, and it looks like my phone is actually now at 5%. So like I said, I have two other devices with me. I have a trek in front of me across the campus of Microsoft in Redmond, Washington, and I'm going to end it here. Thanks, everyone. Stephen, yeah, I would be remiss if I did not mention that I am going to focus on both content on LinkedIn, but with Restream, one of the benefits I really like about it is it's very easy to go live on Twitter or X, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. And so in 2025, one of the things I'm going to focus on is doing more of these, either by myself, ask me anything type things. Maybe it's the AMA that really got people's attention for today. But I had way more interaction on this live than I've had on several others. So that is good from my perspective because I get kudos from Microsoft for doing things for the technical community. And obviously that technical community can say whatever they want. I believe in freedom of speech quite a bit. And that freedom of speech can be nice things that people say, and it can also be things that are hurtful, hateful, or ignorant from whoever's perspective you think about. Somebody might think they're being funny, and I find a lot of things in humor. And so humor, depending on how you define that, can be offensive to some, where still funny to others. So if you made a comment today, and that is the permanent record, right? They warned me when I was growing up about that is the permanent record, right? It's going to follow you potentially for the rest of your life. If you used I guess, a pseudonym or a nickname on YouTube or social media, it may follow you a lot less than if you used your real name. But nevertheless, be aware of that, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I hope to see you soon on YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever other platforms I might show up live on. Take care.